Hey everybody, Jeremy at Pioneer Midwest here. We were thinking about maybe hosting a clinic this week, but it's busy around here at the shop. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to get that scheduled, but I'm here to give a recommendation and a few tips on how to prepare for the events this week. So I'll be going over recommendations for Cordy, Birkie, open track, and then some tips on how to apply some of these waxes here in front of me. So let's start off with the first event of the week. Pretty easy, just the open track. Gonna be a lot of new snow falling this week, and some of that will be falling during the open track. So for the open track, what we recommend is putting down a hard base wax of some sort, which we have in here. So start green, Rex green, Swix Polar, something like that. That's gonna help out the durability, and then adding on top of that kind of your liquid of choice. So one that we really like, G21G from Rex, great in fresh falling new snow. Another product, if you have a roto-wool device, the Star Beta Med, works really well in new falling snow. So those are some good options there. For kick wax on the open track, going with a non-clister binder. I'll go more into depth on that later. And then looking at some new snow waxes, so something from from Start is going to be the blue, and then a Terva on top of that, or from Rex, N21G and 30GB is going to be those new snow waxes. So as it's actively falling new snow, you want to help combat some of that icing that you might see with those newer snows. So those waxes are great there. Now on to kind of the main event, the Cordy and the Birkie. Conditions are going to be fairly similar for those races, so we have a similar recommendation. So between those two events, there's going to be snow that is falling Wednesday into Thursday, maybe even a little bit on Friday. Temperature's going to be a little bit colder on Friday, but still going to have that overnight low dropping down into the single digits on Friday night into the Birkie on Saturday, meaning that that start temperature, the start of the race, going to be on the colder side of things, so leading towards similar waxes on both days. So if we start off in that first part of the process here, like I mentioned before, base wax. Getting a hard, durable base wax into your skis is going to be really, really important. This is probably one of the most important parts of the process, is getting that base wax in there. So with this, prior to even doing that, getting your skis cleaned. So getting a glide cleaner, applying this to the skis, getting the skis cleaned, especially if anybody's here in the Twin Cities right now, we've had some warm weather, dirty, crusty snow. Skis pick up a lot of dirt. Before you want to put any of this new wax into your skis, you want to get all that old dirt, all that old gunk out of there. So using the glide cleaner is going to really help out. So then moving on to the base wax, this is going to help increase durability of everything else you're putting on top of there. So hard, durable wax is going to really help that out. So we like all three of these waxes. They're a little bit more difficult to apply because of that hardness. So some tips on how to apply these harder waxes. I actually like to use a slightly warmer iron. So increasing that iron temperature just a little bit, but moving the iron faster across the ski. You're gonna have less of a chance of burning your ski using a hotter iron that's moving faster than using a cooler iron that's more difficult to melt the wax in, and you're forced to move that iron slower. So if you can turn the temperature up a couple degrees, 2-3 degrees, maybe even 5 degrees, and have that melt a little bit easier, melt a little bit quicker, it means you can have that iron on the ski for less time. So that's one thing that we use with this. Another tip for this, and this is going to be really important across the entire lineup here, scraping and brushing. That is the most important thing that you can do with your skis, making sure that you get all that wax out of your skis, scraping and brushing well. Ways to help improve that, getting nice brushes. So using a steel brush. Steel brushes will help clean out the structure of your skis better than a copper brush or a brass brush. If you are still struggling to get wax out of your skis, getting a horsehair brush, scrubbing with a horsehair brush will help to bring some of that stuff up, and then going back to that steel brush. Roto brushes also are really great tools. That's what we use here primarily at the shop to help get some of that wax out of the skis, roto brushes, but even then we still resort to hand brushes quite often. So once you get that ski scraped, brushed, you can probably even do 2 layers of some of these waxes here. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to do that. Get them scraped, brushed, clean. We're going to move on to that paraffin layer. And so this is going to be kind of the race layer. This is the racing wax, a little bit more expensive stuff. Doesn't have to be too pricey, but can really help increase that performance of the ski. So some of the recommendations we have here on the table, Swix Marathon's been a go-to for since non-fluoro wax has really even started here. From the Star line, there's more powder paraffins, so similar process as that Swix Marathon powder. The Cold and the Polar have both tested really well here in the Midwest for the last few years. And then a brand new product from Rex, NF21. We've been testing this for the duration of the season. Been testing really well. It's been winning a lot of tests. Been competitive even against some HF waxes. So we're pretty excited about that wax there. But any of these waxes here are going to really help out, increase that performance over that base wax. Now, if you wanted to get it up to that next level, the highest level, add in a top layer. And so these top layers are meant to be added on top of this paraffin layer. And you can use any one of these, but I probably wouldn't mix them. So by that, Swix TSP5. It's a great top layer wax. I probably wouldn't put a liquid on top of this TSP5. This works best on its own. Same thing with the Rex and Kinetic Cold. This works best as the very last thing on top of a standard paraffin layer. I wouldn't add another liquid on top of that or something else like that. I would just go with the Kinetic Cold. Same thing here with the Star products. So the Star Cold, Star Polar, again, really great products. We've had a lot of success in running those in the Midwest in colder conditions. These are going to be work best roto-wooled on. So the Star products are going to be best roto-wooled. The Rex and Kinetic are going to be best just applying it to the ski and then letting it sit. So one tip with this is that instead of applying it directly on the ski, it's a spray product, what I will do is I will actually take some fiber cloth, spray the fiber cloth, and then from there spread it along the ski. That's going to help give it a thinner application, but it will also help make this product last a little bit longer. So with that, you can actually add multiple layers of this product here, the Kinetic Cold. Same thing with the Star products. Multiple thin layers, similar to kick wax. It's going to be better than one thick, globby layer. That generally turns out a little bit gummy if you add a thicker layer. So what we can do with the Kinetic product, put it on the ski, let it sit for about an hour, brush it out, put it on the ski again, let that sit overnight if possible, brush it out in the morning, race morning, and then you should be good to go. Last thing that you can do to help increase the speed on your skis or classic skis in glide wax is going to be structure. So structure can be hugely important and is often missed even in cold conditions. Structure can help. Not nearly as important as it is in warmer conditions, but we've seen lots and lots of races go the wrong direction if you don't even add any structure. So one tool that we really like in colder natural snow, seems like that's what we're going to be having this week, is Red Creek -5, -15. You can put that on lightly on the back half of the ski. It's going to really help out performance, especially for those that are in later waves. The snow gets a little bit choppy, and a little bit more sugary and soft. This will help break up some of that interference and really help the ski glide a little bit. So that's the recommendation and tips that we have for glide. Now for kick. So for kick, probably the most important part about this entire thing is where you're starting off with, and that's going to be the binder. If you put on your kick wax without a binder, it's probably going to disappear somewhere during the race. Birkie's quite a long race, so you want to put on a binder, but you want to make sure you put on the right binder. So with this snow that we're coming in, it's not going to be as abrasive as the conditions that we have right now outside. Conditions that we have right now outside right now calls for a clister binder. If you're to put on one of those more tacky binders, so I got some examples over here. Rex Liquid Base, Base Extra, Bounty Super Base, all fantastic binders. Have had a lot of success with them this entire season. but there's some clister in there, and if any of that clister is exposed to the new snow, it's going to really drag down your performance and slow your skis down a little bit. So waxes that you can really rely on would be just base wax from Rex, AT base from Vouti, either of the two kick waxes or the base waxes from Swix should work out well for you. None of these have clister in it or a significant amount of clister in it that will slow down the skis. Getting a layer of this ironed into your skis after you do a sandpaper on them should help keep everything else on top here in check. So then for the kick, definitely a lot of different options you can go with. Cold conditions, blue conditions, green conditions. Waxes from pretty much every single company are going to work. Our recommendation is looking at whichever company you are comfortable with, whichever company you have experience with, and going along with that, using a blue from that company to give your kick some cushion. So Rex out here in front, give the Rex blue some cushion, and then put on the faster waxes, might be a little bit colder. So this is the N21G, great new snow, fast wax. Layer to that on top is going to help give you that extra little speed. Same thing here, Roadie, we really like the T-line, -1, -7, or B17, and then B310, -3, -10 on top of that. Swix, B40, covered with BP30. These are going to be that direction you're going to go, where you're layering waxes on top of each other. And you can even mix these companies together, but typically I generally will just stick in a company because it's easy to know that these two products are very similar. One's a little bit softer, one's a little bit harder. I can mix those together. So those are kind of my tips that I have here. Good luck to everybody that's racing this week, and hope to see you out there on the trails.